Welcome to Community Voices with your host, Tarence Lauchie. This radio roundtable features community, business, and religious leaders that discuss current events and topics that impact our urban community. If you would like to be a guest or if you have a suggested topic, contact the station today at 616-259-7342. Now, into the program.
Hi, everybody. This is Lee Stevens on 91.9 Power, 91.9 WDPW, the People's Station. We're on Community Voices and stuff. I don't want you to be concerned. Please don't adjust. The old school saying, please don't adjust your television so you are not seeing things wrong. We're going to explain this to you because I know this is throwing you off. I'm in this seat and your normal host is on this seat over here. We are going to be talking to Pastor Tarence Lauchie and Eva Lauchie today because they are celebrating something very monumental, and it's not easy to do, especially in the changing decades and trends and keeping up with what's the pulse of the community, and they have done that absolutely to the T. We're talking to them about 20 years of service, not only in the community, of course, with their church. And we're so excited to have all of you here. What's going on?
Not much. Thank you for having us.
No,
Community Voices.
Well, am I having you? You having me? What happened here?
For me, you are having me.
You're having you.
Yes.
This is your seat,
It
but
is
you're over there.
definitely strange to sit on this side of the table when typically I've got folks sweating over here and I'm sitting over there. But this is good.
This is okay and everything.
Thank you,
and
man.
feel free to ask me any questions. No, I got all the questions
I'm
today.
the interviewee.
Yeah, interviewee. We're gonna at some point we might get it mixed up, but that's okay.
Cool.
We got it and everything. But if you feel the chops to do it, it's okay. The Growth Center Inc. is having a big celebration, and it's in conjunction with your church, in effect, because they have come along, great, quote unquote, gracefully with each other over the 20-year period. But first of all, congratulations! 20 years is not easy in today's society.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so the wherewithal, because community work is the hardest work out there, outside of being maybe a doctor, firefighter, policeman, a teacher,
Air traffic control.
A stewardess,
Those are
parent.
The list goes on, right?
Yeah, but that's not easy, trying to look out for other people,
Right.
and be a benefit to the community. So how have you done it, as we said earlier, gracefully through 20 years?
Well, thanks first of all, for even sitting in that seat to ask these questions because, we could ramble and talk, but when we're asked specifically, it makes you think, how have we done this? And it is gracefully, through the grace of God, or full of God's grace. Eva and I have partnered in this. 20 years ago, I was asked to come to Grand Rapids to pastor a church that had been around already for 50 years. The late Elder James Holloway, Superintendent James Holloway, was the founding pastor of Grace Pentecostal at the time. And, I was appointed through Bishop Pryor's leadership, Bishop Marvin C. Pryor, who's also passed away. And it wasn't an easy experience. It was a transition for us. I think Eva can weigh in on this because we were parents of young children.
Right.
And I'd already been serving in ministry as an assistant pastor, director of Christian education, a community service volunteer in various areas in Lansing. So moving to Grand Rapids was a trip, an experience. But it's been full of God's grace, hence the name, Grace for the Nations Church. I think she wants to weigh in on that because she's been with me every step of the way.
Yeah, it definitely has been a journey, but I would say that just being inside of the assignment that God has for you, He's definitely given us grace. I would be lying to say that, everything was, Sunday morning or peaches and cream, but it wasn't. But knowing that there was an end is what allowed us to move forward. And I think one of the things that's unique with us is when God called him, He called me and He called our kids. And I often, remind our kids that whatever it is that God called your father to do, we're going to be right there. If he was called to own a hamburger joint, we'll be sitting there asking, do you want some fries with that shake?
Yeah.
So we had to do it as a unit. And God's given us the grace for that. And I just so honor Him for that. But I want to be on the side that what God has for us.
I see that being a consistent thing. Even we were talking before we started rolling camera here and rolling tape. The Marvin Sapp, show being on it, and Melinda was lockstep.
Right.
And in a sense, driving force and stuff. Do we have that same economy?
Even
here?
more so. Eva and Melinda were really,
Very
really close
connected.
friends, and Marvin and I go all the way back to when he was about 16 years old. He came to Michigan State. We were students at Michigan State, and I was in the gospel choir. And Darrell Hoskins, a real good godbrother of his, used to bring him up to Michigan State, and he was in the Upward Bound program. So that's where I originally met Marvin. Watching that movie really kind of brought back some memories, because I was like, I remember when he was that age.
Yeah.
He's a little younger than we are, but that's probably one of the secrets to his success as well, is having a partner in ministry.
Yes.
Not just God called me to pastor or God called me to do something. Like she said, I got the call, they answered too. And I think that that's one of the secrets of, if there is any virtue or success, that unity and that willingness to work together. I shout out to my kids and their families, because they're all grown now and they all have spouses of their own and grandkids on the way and coming, excuse me, and a part of our nation. They were called the Holy Nation, and that was a nickname that they were given. But the Holy Nation's been with us every step of the way, too, in these 20 years. They were 10, 12, 4, 6.
They were 3, 5, 7, and 11.
See,
Dad's always
get it right, Pastor.
Right, yeah, 3, 5. So.
Don't ask me the birthday. No, I got
Right, wrangle up 4 kids, because we commuted for 2 years. Commuted
wow.
back and forth to Lansing, because I personally, I was waiting to see, was this a temporary assignment or was this a permanent assignment? And it was a permanent assignment. When God said, move, we moved and brought our kids along with us. And we have not looked back, because it's a great congregation. There are many people that are still there, that was there when we came.
Absolutely.
But then it has grown tremendously. The youngest person is probably nine weeks or 3 months, and our oldest member will be 99 in October. So we have about 5 generations, even as far as in that church.
It's equally distributed.
It's equally distributed.
Now, we won't get into the discussion of who's doing the work, who's paying the tithes,
Oh, boy.
and who shows up, and who's online.
But it takes
that
it
defines
takes
our
all.
generation.
Right. It takes all the generations to really make up the congregation.
Well, God's
We're
been good
grateful
to
for
us.
that.
Yeah.
It's been good.
Well, you talk about grace. Grace really went through the first 4 questions and stuff. So now we can talk about some other things I want to get into, but we got to talk about this event. Okay, because Grace for the Nations Church and Growth Center Inc. Now, this is Growth Center Inc.'s 20th, right? 20 years, and this is a celebration in conjunction with your church regarding the work that you have put in the community. So we want to make sure we make that distinction in this particular event coming up,
Sure,
right?
on September 11th.
Right.
And
Well, together it's 20 years. Well, Grace is actually 20 years, and the Growth Center was birthed a couple of years after we started Grace. It actually came
we
out.
put a name on what
Right.
we were doing.
What we were already doing.
And registered the nonprofit.
Right. It came out actually birthed out of, there was some challenges that came with Hurricane Katrina. And so we stepped in as a church to assist, and we found there were some roadblocks in doing that as an actual functioning church. So we established the Growth Center, and that was really our launch into the community.
Had you ever seen a tragedy like that with Katrina and having to jump into action before?
No.
No, not since the civil rights. No, and that was an issue of civil rights. That was an issue of access. That was an issue of community coming together. Health, and just the disparities of distribution of wealth and that type of thing. So the Growth Center took on a task. One of our members just really had this passion to help people with personal needs, because there's plenty of food in food banks.
Yes.
There was a lot of community work as it relates to utility assistance and things like that. But the niche that the Growth Center,
One of them,
two major focuses of our 4 pillars or 4 initiatives was youth development and also meeting personal needs, helping people through the empowerment of access to resources. And so the Growth Center, birthed out of Grace for the Nations arm into the community, became a global organization. We began to do missions trips both locally as well as abroad. We were able to disseminate funds that were collected, and then the resources of the Big Give, which we've known, Camp Judah, the youth development program that we've run for many years, which was another vision that was brought to us by one of our board members, has expanded, and now the Growth Center is noted in places like Guatemala, South Africa. We've done some work in Haiti. That was our first.
And here in Grand Rapids. That's what I think was so unique about the Growth Center, is our outreach arm is not only internationally, but it's within our local community. And so we're such a small grassroots organization, but yet we're able to have such a far outreach.
Yes.
And I'm excited about that because a lot of times people say, well, either you're going to do internationally or, we have needs here at home. When no, we're going to do both. We're going to go out into Judea, Samaria, Jerusalem, and the uttermost parts.
That's what the Great Commission is all about.
We can do both.
Because it's still needed.
It is.
And more so.
Well, there were some limitations, and you had asked the original question about the Growth Center. So Grace was our launching pad, but the Growth Center literally stands alone as a 501c3.
Yes.
And we've been a fiduciary for a lot of other nonprofit organizations as well to disseminate resources, projects, programs, information, and then impacting people's lives. Whereas the church's limitations, especially here in Grand Rapids, were denominational influences, the history of the church, people's experiences with church.
Preconceived notions.
Yeah, their preconceived notions. Those were some of the roadblocks that a church has, whereas a nonprofit is just that. It's an organization that reaches out into various communities, meeting needs that the church kind of stops at the altar.
Yeah.
So beyond the altar, beyond the walls, beyond the religious service, you got some opportunity there.
Yeah, we talked about that before getting on the air. It's so important. It's more than just the brick and mortar.
Yes.
And you guys have shown that, the 20 years of service. I'm going to read this verbatim because I want everybody to be clear on this one, because this is an incredible event that's coming up September 11th, as you said. One of the two things that stick out to me is it's going to be held at Venue 32, which is right around the corner for me. Okay.
So maybe
I live on 44th between Paris and Schaefer. This is on Schaefer at 32nd.
Yes.
Right? So that's where, if you never heard of the event, if you may have heard it or you heard about it or wonder where that is, it's a beautiful building, matter of fact. Very modern, rustic look and stuff, right next to the horse stables. So if you ever traveled on 32nd Street and like, where are all these horses all of a sudden in the middle of the city and stuff? Well, you go behind there, that's Venue 32, that building right there. And it's a beautiful center. Shout out to Venue 32. The other thing I love is a strolling dinner provided by Candy Yam. I'm there.
There you go.
Nice place with good food.
Right.
But it's going to be September 11th, as we talk about. It's going to be live entertainment, art auction, and it's going to be short program. And then the 2035 Highlight Magazine. And remember, the booklet will be available to everybody, and all proceeds go to the Growth Center. It's a 501c3. And you have some sponsors involved in this one, right?
Yeah. We actually have been working with a planner. And for those who may not know, Jessica Tyson.
Oh, yes.
She's got one of the most dynamic promotion and planning event organizations that are in the city. She's done some things globally, nationally, as well as locally. And she's helping us with that sponsorship and getting those sponsors at the table. Yeah, because there's more work.
There is so much work to be done. And the thing I love about this event is it's going to allow us, because you saw the 2035, because even though we've been pastoring for 20 years, we've actually been operating in ministry for 35 years.
Yes.
So even before coming to Grand Rapids.
Right.
Before Grand Rapids,
and so this event is going to give us an opportunity to not only just reflect, but also to move forward and launch and get the capital funds so that we can do the work, in the community. So tickets are available if they go on the website. Eventbrite.
Yeah, the website and Eventbrite.
Yep.
Lee, one of the things I do want to highlight and bring out is typically as pastors, and it's an anniversary celebration for pastors, there's this church service, and they bring the pastor and the first lady down the aisle.
Which is fine.
And they set them on the stage, and those are wonderful things, but we chose, we've been there, done that. We chose this year, if you all want to celebrate us, go in with the Growth Center, do something that will impact the community in a way that proceeds and funds would actually help others as well. Thank you for your love toward us. And we definitely can use the encouragement, but we also live by a personal model to use our gifts and our talents and our treasures to serve others. And that's the whole impetus behind this event and this celebration.
Yeah, some intentional celebration. Because listen. I mean, they're gonna give you cards, okay?
Right.
Just choose another day to do it or something like that. But they're gonna, we're gonna celebrate you because you do something that's impactful. It's something that it's rare for a lot of people to do. And I guess what do you say with some, I hate to say it with some superiority, but with some diligence, some creativity, some humor, some humility. It would be fun I like it to, being a president of the United States and stuff. It's a hard job.
It is.
It's a hard calling. but you do it, and you do it so, as you say, gracefully. And so, and in fact, people being there to support the growth network, right?
Growth
Center. Growth Center. Sorry, Growth Center.
Yeah.
Being there is the thankfulness that you're looking for. Really being able to go to continue to do your work.
Yeah.
So that's great. So we encourage people.
Well, we've had partners
Lou,
over the years, and a lot of the partners, we want to be able to shout them out.
Yeah,
or
go ahead.
Take a few moments to acknowledge them, but we've partnered with a lot of local organizations over these years with the 4 initiatives, whether it was the youth development, whether it was the empowerment piece, whether it was financial literacy and helping people, start businesses. I was talking to somebody even on the station that launched their business, and their whole entrepreneurial venture was based on us contracting them. We were their first gig to do some financial empowerment. It was personal budgeting, preparing, for mortgages, preparing for business launches. That's really what the Growth Center is about, in addition to families and youth, community, and global impact.
Right.
She serves as chairperson.
I guess you would be the great person to ask this question, along with Pastor Lauchie. But you do all that incredible work, all that, and you talk about somebody launching their business, from being involved with you guys and stuff. Have you ever stopped and thought about the impact that you have now that you're building legacies and stuff, and really things that are going to live way past all of us into years and decades and centuries, and it's going to be, recorded. People are going to know about the things, the impact that you have left.
Right. I have, and I'm sure you have it, Terence has as well. But I think it's more so, and it's something that we don't, if you notice, like with nonprofits and community organizations, everybody want to collect data.
Yeah.
What is the data? What is the data? But I found with the Growth Center that we actually don't know the number of lives that we have impacted. Because I heard a minister one time, often there is preventive. So we talk about the people that fail, but yet we don't have the numbers of the people that have succeeded as a result of what the Growth Center has done, or any nonprofit. So there's so many things that we may have prevented happening just because we've had this avenue for people to, be able to get get assistance, or start businesses, or get those personal needs items, because personal needs items cost a lot. And so for us to be able to give you maybe a month's worth of laundry detergent and toothpaste, and so you can take care of something else. So the Growth Center gives us the avenue to serve others, and it really help them to move forward in a trying world, because it's challenging, and not just because of COVID. It was challenging before COVID.
True.
It's challenging, but way before COVID, and it continues to be even more challenging. One of the things that I love in reading up about you guys, because I did a little research.
All right, I like that.
There was nothing wrong in there. I didn't do it. There's no bad reports out there.
There's no scandal, praise God.
We ain't gonna turn now. One of the things that I know in researching you, both of you, in the Growth Center, is that when you take a large scope, you take a real large scope, not just in your immediate community, but internationally, and I think that that's an incredible skill, because the feelings and thoughts and experiences, even though they might be same, there might be a thread of commonality amongst someone from Grand Rapids versus someone from, Africa and African region and everything. But there's some differences and stuff. How do you, in effect, switch your brain, your mode, and effectively help those in different needs than what you would find here in America versus another country?
That's an excellent question, and this is where ministry really meets opportunity.
Right.
Eva mentioned the nonprofit and its mission to change people's lives, or to effectually provide resources. Well, that's part of the Great Commission. Part of the Great Commission is not to just preach and teach to people, but also to feed and lead people. And the Growth Center, as well as Grace for the Nations Church, converged between the manifestation of these dreams, visions, and us fulfilling our purpose, can do either. and. So there have been times we've been invited, let's say internationally, to go and minister, but we also took along the Growth Center's mission to help feed, to help clothe, to help house, whether it was financially or whether it was through material items. We took literally thousands of pounds of resources to Haiti during the Hurricane Katrina experience, as well as the earthquakes and the just really the poverty. So it's always coupled with go preach the gospel, but also help somebody along the way in a natural way. And so, yes, it is country specific, it's community specific. Think about where we're located. We're physically located right on the edge of Cascade and Grand Rapids. So out there is what people say, where we are. There's not a lot of neighborhood communities around us. So we're always reaching back within the city in which we live and the communities that which we serve, but we're not just limited to one zip code. And not, so, but yeah, there is some assessment, especially for key performance indicators. How do we know we made an impact? How do we know we made an impact? Well, of course, you address the needs, but a lot of prayer and a lot of ministry is the fuel really that drives that. And when I say ministry, I mean that heartfelt passion to meet a need, not just get a word out.
Right. Yeah. In addition to that, to additionally answer your question, the bottom line is people are people all over the world. No matter where you go, people want to feel the love of God.
Yes.
And so the Growth Center and we call it Grace Cares, personal needs items and assessments, like you said, whether we were doing it in South Africa or Haiti, even down here in Grand Rapids at the Salvation Army, we've partnered, or we're at Rosa Parks Circle every year actually distributing. And then what we have found is, you picked up a bottle of detergent, but yet you were also able to make a connection in the community, and people know that God cares and God loves them. So the actual stuff is just an avenue, but I think the commonality is we have a responsibility to show the love of God. And so we do that through various avenues.
Yes, you do. I want to make sure we're going to mention this a couple more times before we're up, because I know this is Pastor Lachey's show. Get it right.
It's Community Voices, right?
Community Voices. This is the community's.
It's the people's choice.
It's the people's
voice.
People's voice, people's station.
Like
this is the people's show, Community Voices. But you can search all this information at eventbrite.com. And if you put in these, simple keywords, because Eventbrite makes it easy. You want to put 20 years of making a difference. That's will come up like that. But it's 20 years of making a difference. This and stuff like that. I'm messing up on your own show.
No, man, I get it. Sometimes people don't know that orators get a little tongue-tied.
Yes, they do.
All the
and
time.
Can't see.
And we can't see.
That's why we're good at
and
voice.
The
Growth Center Inc., because that's what we've been talking about.
Yes.
Get it right. Edit. The Growth Center Inc. and Grace for the Nations Church presents 20 Years of Making a Difference. Pastor Tarence Lauchie, Eva Lauchie are the honored guests and stuff, and there's going to be a dinner and a fundraiser in lieu of giving cards and personal gifts, although you can still do that. Okay, consider getting a ticket to this event. It's at eventbrite.com. It's going to be at Venue 32. It's on 3232 Schaefer Avenue Southeast. That's 32nd and Schaefer by the horse farm.
Right.
All right. That's the best way I can tell you to find it if you want to get cross streets and stuff.
But in addition to that, even if they're not able to purchase tickets because maybe they won't be able to participate, there's an opportunity on Eventbrite for them to sponsor. Or even put their name in, or to get an ad. In recognition of the celebration.
In the magazine. Yeah, there's a magazine that actually will be.
You know what?
For that day.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a sponsorship.
Awesome.
I haven't clicked through to see how much that is yet, but I already made it official, so I'll do that.
There's various price
Jessica's
points.
Listening. Jessica is listening. So
yes, I know, right? So, and then we were going to be highlighting local youth and business scholarship presentation, which is always good.
That's something that's passionate for us.
Yes.
This is our first year of actually becoming public with it. We've done a lot of private work in the area of philanthropy. When I grow up, I want to be a philanthropist. When I grow up, I really want to be noted as somebody who's given back our family, our foundation, our community, blessing other communities and individuals. So it's not just a scholarship, but there's also an opportunity for an endowment to somebody that may be starting a business or somebody who needs a vehicle or somebody who. So we're going to be giving away a little bit of stuff.
Right. The thing that's so unique about that, I think oftentimes those of us that are of meager means, you think that, oh, we have to wait till, we have, hundreds of thousands in the bank before we can be giving to others. No, if a lot can be done with $200, $500. I think about when we, started college. If somebody gave me a book scholarship, you may not have been able to pay my tuition, but if you could help me to buy my books, that is a huge impact. So it's our hope that people will even see that you don't have to wait until you quote unquote arrive, because we certainly have not arrived, but we can help people along the way on our journey. And then if we all do that, the world would be such a better place.
Yes, if even the littlest of help can help anybody. Imagine what if you just said, all I had was $20. Well, you can buy a good amount of pair of socks at like the dollar store and everything. Not the dollar store, the dollar store.
Right. Well, now it's $1.25 store.
Right.
$1.25 store.
But that's a good example. We partnered with Packing the Heat, another nonprofit organization, and Dorcas Outreach Ministries one year, and we collected socks and hats and gloves, and through the Growth Center had a big event, and then we went out and distributed, literally put some volunteers on the streets to help distribute those through existing organization that did that on a regular basis. So it multiplied the effort, and that's one of the things that we want the Growth Center to be known as, and even the people of Grace. Shout out to the solid membership of Grace for the Nations Church, because they're primarily that volunteer.
Soldiers.
They're that volunteer core.
Yeah.
We were just in Lansing last week with a big give with the Third Ecclesiastical Jurisdiction of Southwest Michigan Church of God in Christ. Say that 3 times, right? We were with them, and during that time, the big give took place in Lansing. So we've had a great opportunity to partner with some great people.
And I think that's one of the unique things about the Growth Center is we don't stand alone. Together, one chases 1,000, and 2 put 10,000 to flight. So together with other organizations, we're able to collaborate and we're able to partner and I hear this statement all the time, we're going to take the city. No one church, no one individual, no one organization is going to take the city. The kingdom isn't even set up like that.
Right.
The kingdom is set up for us to do it together.
Yeah.
And so we're excited about being able to
Taste
partner
the community.
with others. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Before we wrap things up, I'm curious because I'm with my son. I'm all about legacy. He knows that his grandmother and my father, his great grandmother and my father, which would be his grandfather, owned the black newspaper in Cincinnati. It was important to the community and everything. What you're doing is important to the community, but as your family, how have you approached the whole legacy and bringing them into this?
Part of what we're doing on the 11th is launching more legacy. Our kids have been a part of everything that we've done. They're grown adults now. They have their own businesses. They're entrepreneurs. They're in ministry in various areas. I think long gone are the expectations of kids to just follow your footsteps. Now they're actually paving their own pathways through the foundations that we've placed in them. So loving God, loving people, being good stewards over the resources, their talents being primary. That's how the legacy continues. We've got some of our kids are academicians, others are experiential, they deal with their experiences, but they all have a passion for helping people. We've got a professional comedian, we've got professors, we've got all kinds of various gifts and talents being utilized.
Entrepreneurs.
And that's legacy for us.
Yes.
For us, it's legacy to see them doing what we knew that they had talents to do. We helped push it and develop it. Even some of the programming that we've done through the Growth Center, they've benefited from. They've all come through Camp Judah, and Camp Judah is a big thing. There's some folks that's probably listening to this. The kids have gone to Camp Judah. Now, it's really weird to see grown kids that started out as little campers years ago,
right?
And more than 16 or 17 years ago. So the legacy continues, and even the philanthropy is something that we're modeling for our legacies.
Yeah. So I don't want to go too far before I get a chance to give everybody the full information clearly with no bumble this time. All right. The Growth Center Inc. and Grace for the Nations Church presents the 20 years of making a difference, a strolling dinner and fundraiser honoring Tarence Lauchie and Eva Lauchie. That's going to be September 11th It's going to be at Venue 3232 Schaefer Avenue Southeast. That's at the corner of 32nd and Schaefer. And that's going to be from 4 until 7 p.m. It's going to be honoring the 20 years of incredible community service led by these two great individuals right here next to me in the studio. There's going to be local youth and business scholarship presentation, networking, community participation, remarks on the local and global leaders impacting the Growth Center, various giveaways, a strolling dinner by the Candy Yam. Shout out to Jessica and Tyson. I want to see the cornbread too there. All right. Live entertainment, art auction. So if you need to fill up some space in your office or at your home with some beautiful art, that's going to be there as well.
Yeah, Steve Smith from Muse. So shout out to
Steven,
him. He's been the curator for me. He's actually curating some art, some local artists as well as some other stuff. There's some surprises on deck as well regarding the art.
Yeah, award-winning Steven Smith as well, right?
Yes.
And all that information, including a full flyer and a link for you to share, because that's important too. Make sure you share it. Is at eventbrite.com. All you have to do is put in those keywords. The Growth Center. You can put in Grace for the Nations Church presents. You can put 20 years of making a difference. Heck, you can put in Venue 32 and it'll come up. So make sure you do that and get your tickets. And if you can't be there, sponsorship is going to be incredible to do. I might just do both because it's two of my favorite things, being able to support community and eat. So I want to figure that out. But, in parting, how do you feel 20 years?
Exhausted. No, actually encouraged. Encouraged to know, one, that the partnership is working. Partnerships, plural, and the collaborative efforts to fulfill the Great Commission, but to be everything that God has called us to be. Marvin said this in the movie. He says, when I die, I want to die empty, knowing that I've given out everything that God has put on the side of me. And I concur 100%. These visions, both for the church as well as for the Growth Center, it's part of who we are. Yeah. And so I'm grateful. I feel really grateful.
And you are. And we are grateful for you both. Please keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing. This has been Community Voices with Lee Stevens and Pastor Lachey. Your normal host is over there. Everything's okay. We just want to make sure that we celebrate them. So we put him in that seat so that we can celebrate both Pastor Lachey and Eva Lachey today. Make sure you go to eventbrite.com and get all that information I just gave you, and make sure you share as well. It's been Community Voices on Power 91.9 WDPW, the People's Station. And we'll talk to you again soon with that man in this seat next time, probably.
You've been listening to Community Voices with your host, Tarence Lachey. Community Voices can be heard every Friday at 12 noon. This radio roundtable features community, business, and religious leaders that discuss current events and topics that impact our urban community. If you would like to be a guest, or if you have a suggested topic, contact the station today at 616-259-7342. Until next week, let your voice be heard in the community.